I had to deal with the same farmer's guy, same guy. And I had submitted supplements on these 2 metal roofs, and he doubled each one, but they're still nowhere near where they need to be. He's just ignoring building codes and all that. So this is what I like to do. They apply the coverage, they make the payment, and then I take the money off the table, guys. Take the money right off the table, okay? Every time, take the money off the table. All payments due as they arrive. So get the money. I like to tell the adjuster, we've been hired and we've started with repairs. Thank you for sending the $20,000. We've already gone over and picked up the $20,000. If you pick the money up off the table, there is no chance that client is going to go with somebody else. I understand that if you just simply sign some kind of agreement or contingency, that you lose them. They go somewhere else and hire somebody else, and you can't get a hold of them, right? I bet you have no trouble getting a hold of them if you have all the money. If you're holding all the money, I'm not going to go get on a plane and tell everybody there, you know what, I've never flown a plane, but I think I'm going to try to fly this plane. You can't just tell a client that, but that's really essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to play the role of the general contractor. They think they're better off, or they think that the amount of money that's on that estimate, they have to find a contractor to do it for that amount or less. Guys, we spend way too much time thinking that we have to qualify to do business with these people. We don't. These people need to qualify to do business with you. So it's not about, are they willing to hire you? It's, are you willing to even spend your time in taking on that project? So I like to qualify before I even get out there. I'm not doing any work like that. I can give you a price before I even come out there, and that is the total replacement cost value. I can explain it to you why that is, because I've seen in 23 years that no estimates that I've ever seen written by an insurance adjuster ever contain the appropriate amount of line items. The good news is that it's not that difficult to actually get them to include the line items by doing the things that nobody else wants to do, which is simply go find the line items and document them, improve them, and get them into the estimate. You see, I can come out and show you how I can do that. You see what I mean? Gosh, the questions are coming now. I know. I'm not a fan of adding just unreasonable items. I don't want to ever, you'll see my estimates, you'll see I don't add fluff on there, but what I do is I include every single line item that should be there, every single one. So when I'm talking about the detaching reset of all those fixtures and everything, I'm putting every one of them there. I have to find them first, and I want to be able to prove that they are part of the project, right? But I'm going to put every single one of them there. Maybe along the lines, they're saying, we're not going to pay for this, we're not going to pay for that, and there'll have to be some give. But if I don't start from the highest place, I'm not going to be able to end up at a good high place as well. Does that make sense? But another thing too is that everything I'm doing is that I want to do it from a counterpuncher perspective, if that makes sense. So I want to let them always make the first move to me. All right, I want them to sort of open that door themselves and step in it, all right? And step in that trap, not the trap that I'm necessarily setting for them. I want them to set it for themselves, but I want them to make the first move. What does that look like? Like an insurance adjuster gets to the job and they meet me there and I tell them that I'm there, I'm the contractor, and they say to me, do you have your estimate? And remember what I say, guys. The first thing I always say to an adjuster is, well, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So I don't have an estimate, all right? I'm just here to find out what it is that you want to be on the estimate. I am able to produce an estimate. I also, by the way, I use Xactimate. I hear you guys use Xactimate. So I can produce an estimate. I have sort of the structure of one put in place and started that I could use, but I don't have an estimate because I was the contractor that was hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. And it's funny because when I usually say, and I use Xactimate and I understand you do, and they're usually like, can you send me the ESX file? Can you send me the ESX file? And that's like they're asking me, can you just send me the data file? Can you just sort of do my work for me? And then I'll plug it in and remove your letterhead and put mine on it? Of course I will do that for you. Like, I 100% want that. I want them to ask that question. If they don't ultimately ask that question, I'm going to introduce it to them. I'm going to see if I can get them to just use my ESX file. I would love to do their work for them, but I'm not going to lead with it. So like, I think a lot of people, and I used to do this myself, and at one time this was the winning strategy, which was to show up and produce your estimate to them right away. This awesome, beautiful Xactimate estimate that you wrote, right? Who all here does not use Xactimate? Holy moly, that's like hot, that's a lot, right? Because we've been at a different events, like, and this is not negative towards you guys at all. It's just helpful to know, like, who uses Xactimate, who doesn't, right? But man, there's usually only like 3 or 4 people that usually raise their hand. I think we're just more honest in this group, right? But I hear a lot like from people that are like, I don't use Xactimate, they say, because Xactimate sucks. They may just leave it at that, you know. But Xactimate is too low. It doesn't pay enough. And, you know, so like, let me just tell you, I've been using it for like almost 20 years. I'm not like a fanatic of Xactimate. Like, I'm not like, oh, you have to use Xactimate. But I use it, and the reason why I use it is because most of what I do is I play sort of with the flow of traffic with the insurance companies. I use their rules, okay? Like the rules that they have established, I've found better luck going with the flow, with the grain. Like, I will use their rules against them, okay? Like when they say, like, it's so frustrating when they change that 3-trade rule, you know, on the overhead and profit. Now you have to prove, you know, that it reaches a level of complexity and or coordination. Like myself, I will lean into that and I'll go all day long trying to prove the complexity and the coordination, if that makes sense, right? So I do use Xactimate, but I use it properly, okay? Which is not the way that they teach you to use it, all right? Like, they don't teach you in the certification courses how to use the Xactimate program the way that I do. I do happen to believe that Xactimate pays plenty of money, like over the top money. It's actually insane. Like, you should be having, like, if it is water damage type jobs and fire damage type jobs, you should be at 60 to 70%, maybe even higher profit margin. Like, you know, and the roof is a little bit lower because the roof is a high ticket, you know, it costs a lot of money. But if there are other items associated with that roof, you should be at a very high profit margin, like at least 50%. You know, and that's crazy to think about. If you're not at a third, something is wrong. It's got to be fixed, you know. But I'm just telling you, like, it is an extremely lucrative and profitable business. And if you're not tapping into that, you need to talk to other people at lunch. I'm sure there's people in this room that can tell you and affirm for you that it is extremely profitable when done correctly. But, you know, you're missing these items. Just let me think about it for a second. When an adjuster gets there and they ask you for your estimate, and if you try to give them your estimate and it's beautiful, there's a lot that goes into that. I do believe that the Xactimate is appropriate. Like the painting, for example. That's why I think people are like, that's one of the things they point to, like, look at the square footage for painting. It's way too low. Of course it is. It doesn't include all those other line items that I just got through running down for you guys, right? There's a ton of other line items that should be in there, and they're not in your estimate. So of course it's looking low when you're used to seeing these adjuster estimates that only have the painting per square foot. It looks extremely low because it is. You know, it has to be done correctly, right? But you're just looking at, if you go out and you give them that estimate, let's think of a hardwood floor that's been damaged in a home, and that hardwood floor, like water damage, and that hardwood floor is running underneath the lower cabinets, okay? You can picture that, like, and so you have to replace the hardwood floors, but to do so, you have to at least detach and reset the lower cabinetry. Now, the adjuster may see that, and their version of that may be, we're gonna remove and replace the floor, and they may be on the fence about that. You know, sometimes they're like, oh, you know, it could be repaired or refinished, or we can cut out this portion and refinish the rest of it. I've seen that time and time again, you know, where they don't just automatically give you the removal and replacement of the wood floor. Even though it's clearly damaged, you're thinking it's clearly damaged, I'm getting a new wood floor, but they'll come in and just cut out that only damaged part. I've seen that a lot of times. You know, I can get around that usually, but that's discouraging when they do that. So maybe they're on the fence about that to begin with, but ultimately they're willing to give you the removal and replacement of the floor Their version of the estimate is just detach and reset lower base cabinetry. That's what they put as their version in their estimate. Whereas my version is detach and reset, the toe kick, detach and reset the lower base cabinetry, detach and reset the countertop. It's granite, so it may break when I take it out, okay? So it might turn into a removal and replacement. The backsplash is like mosaic tiles, so you can't detach and reset that. That's essentially remove and replace. Now we have GFCI outlets that have to be dealt with in the mix of all that. We have the sink that has to be detached and reset. We have the faucets, detach, reset. The garbage disposal, detach, reset. Dishwasher, detach, reset. You with me so far? 3 angle valve supplies, or angle valves that have to be removed and replaced. You can't just really detach and reset those. Plumbing fixture supply lines, perhaps 3 of those that have to be removed and replaced. The P-trap assembly, remove and replace. You with me? The range, like everything moved, detach, reset. I mean, give me a break. It's not detach and reset lower base cabinetry, right? So, but if the adjuster is already on the fence about whether or not to give you the full replacement to begin with, that could backfire. If you go out and show them your cards where you intend to go with the estimate, that may not get you anywhere. That's why I like to let them go and apply the coverage. Apply the coverage. Let them apply the coverage. They're all the time saying, can you meet us out there and can you get us an estimate? I've had people call me and say, Chad, they're not even going to meet me out there. They just want an estimate. They're just going to take my estimate and work off of that. And I get that they say that. It rarely ever really comes out that way. You end up giving them your estimate and they send an adjuster. They're almost always going to send an adjuster. So go and meet with that adjuster. I actually think that the adjuster, if anybody plays chess, like all the chess pieces have a point value. The pawns they have value, they're not 0, like they're like 1, I believe, but like they have value, but not much value. Then the knights and the rooks have more, the knights and the bishops have the next level, and then the rook, and then the queen, So, but the pawns, they do have value, but not a ton. That's how I look at the original field adjuster that comes out. They are valuable. And there's been great adjusters that I've met, by the way. There's been great. So I don't mean to minimize them. But there's been a lot of jerks too. You have to understand that the circumstances that they are working under are extensive, that are outside of our purview, that we're not aware of. A lot of times, for example, I've met adjusters that had a $20,000 writing authority. $20,000. That's all they had the authority to write for. If it reached a level higher than 20, it had to go somewhere else. And so this guy doesn't want it to go over 20 because he wants to keep the credit. I mean, a lot of adjusters get paid differently depending on where they're at. Sometimes they want to get it approved because they get paid better if they do it that way, right? Like if it comes out, there's actual applied coverage that's there. But these adjusters, I think of you said you went out and you had to do 5 hurricanes, right? And probably in the first one, you were like, people said you could make more money as an adjuster, and you found out it wasn't really like that. It can be, but the first run, was it like that?
I did really good, but I was working 16 hours a day.
Sure. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a scenario. A brand new adjuster has been told, coming maybe from the contractor side, that they can make a lot more money just going out and doing a bunch of claims in a storm. And so if you go down that road, you've got to go get your license, right? So you have to go through the studies and do all that, find a course and do that. Go get your license and then kind of hang out until it comes, right? Until the storm comes and you're going to deploy out. You want to be ready though. You want to have your vehicle ready. You have your ladder, have all your tools, have everything in place. And then that's what they do. They go out, they're excited to make a lot of money. You correct me if I'm wrong, and you could be different, anybody's different, but brand new adjuster, you kind of have to go deploy with an independent firm, right? And are you basically, and you're funding it yourself? Are you like your own costs, like your own hotel, your own food, your own travel, all that, you're funding it until the checks start coming in? Is that essentially? Independent contractor. Okay, so you guys know what that's like. That's what an adjuster's under. So they get there, and if they're lucky enough to get in, get the assignments, then you get handed a big stack of files, right? You got to go out, get these files done. And as a new adjuster, you've been taught how to use Xactimate. You've been taught how to do things, the right way, and you have the right intentions. You're a good person. I know he's a good person. I can tell. Like, he goes out, he wants to help these people. He's not trying to hose them. He's trying to actually just get paid, get a good income for helping people. Can't beat that, right? You go out there, you write up all these estimates, and you get them submitted, and you tell the client, I've got the thing submitted. You're going to get a check soon. It's got to go through my company, and then through the carrier, and then they're going to send you a check, right? That's how it works. And then after that happens, a payment goes out, then you get your check. Later on, like, that has to happen though, right? Could take them up, but the payment's got to go out. Like, it has to be processed, essentially.
The firm you're working for, sometimes they'll pay you before they get paid by the carrier, but some of them have to wait to get paid by the carrier before they pay you.
And the carrier's not getting, the company you're working for is not getting paid until that payment has been processed, right? To the client, to the property owner, right? On the estimate. So, like, a guy like this is getting started out, and he's running the numbers in his head. Like, I should be making about this amount of money, right? But then all of a sudden they start kicking files back down. You ever have that happen?
Not very often, but I have had to make a few corrections, but I don't have to deal with the back end.
The supplementing.
I don't have to deal with supplementing.
And they tell you, don't worry about that. We have a team for that, right?
Or a contractor will catch you.
Or a contractor will catch you, yeah. We have a team for that. We have a supplement process. Like, most people don't even know that the supplement process even exists. Like, the clients out there and even the contractor. So good on you all for being here. You're actually a rarity in this. Yeah, go for it. First question of the day, by the way.
Mitigation's the same way.
Same
We're
way.
out there, we're demoing,
Yeah.
we're sucking water, we get paid like a month from now.
Yeah.
So it's-
Yeah, you got to get it done first and go through the process, right? And wait for it to.
Chase storms, but I think they're the exact same way, and that's
Yeah.
why I haven't decided to do that yet, because of that exact scenario. Like,
Sure.
It's a big cash flow up front that you have to be able to.
And you don't really know how much it's going to be approved, right? Like, at the end of the day, you got to just go with it. So, but the other thing that happens is to these new adjusters, I've seen it time and time again where they will kick it back down. So like, oh, whoa, we don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. We're not going to pay for that. We're not going to pay for overhead and profit. Like, and maybe you didn't know. You probably already knew. You probably already knew what their protocols and their standards. You got to learn how to do it, huh? So, but like most of these guys, they come in and they learn that most of the things that they're trying to get on there, not most of them, but a lot of the things are not getting approved. And they learn that, oh, now I've got to revise it and get it resubmitted, and that payment's not even coming. So like, shoot. But then also, they're extremely strict about the timing, right? They give you those files, and they need them done right now. So if you don't get them done, they will actually pull files back from you and give them to somebody else because they have to get there in so much amount of time after the storm. I'm very cynical. I think they try to get there like so fast like that because they actually want to give you an estimate that was based on the price list before the price went up. An Xactimate, like the next month it went up or the month after that it went up. I'm kind of cynical in that way. But I think that they save a lot of money on the front line. Like most people don't know they can do supplements, but they get money out there real quick and people are like, oh, hey, I got an estimate for my whole roof, and everybody thinks that they have to go hire a contractor for this amount or less. That's what everybody thinks, But the adjuster, he didn't mean wrong. He got there, he realized that the game is speed. You got to get there and get there now, get there quick. You got to figure out how to do a more efficient inspection, get it done faster. They're figuring out all kinds of tricks, like how to get their ladder on the thing. Like all the quickest ways possible to do an estimate. Like they figure out, like I had a guy told me, he's like, I figured out I would do my call. I had to call everybody. So I would do my calls in this manner during this time and this time. And I would leave the messages. They usually wouldn't answer. And I'd go on to the next. Like every little thing is mapped out so you can get them done very, very fast. That's why these adjuster estimates are low in the first place. There's so much other work, right? But there's incredible value by getting the adjuster to go out there, no matter who it is, to write up an estimate, some estimate. To me, people get so angry when they see that first estimate, like, well, look at this is crazy. They didn't get this, they didn't get that. Like to me, I'm like doing a little, I'm whistling. I'm happy because they opened the door. They applied the coverage. That's what we need to begin with. So whenever I send in my supplement, I'm never going to send it to that original field adjuster. And this is different sometimes because some carriers, you have to deal with the same field adjuster from cradle to the grave. But you usually don't. I mean, like State Farm's a bigger one that we're going to deal with the most. And State Farm, you don't have to deal with the original field adjuster. In fact, if you're trying to contact the original adjuster who was on that original estimate that was in place at the first part, and they're not contacting you back, they're not on the claim anymore. And the other thing is, what I was trying to get to too, is when a claim has been paid, the adjuster's been paid. And if you try to submit a supplement before that has even happened, then you've literally held up the adjuster's pay. You may not have known that either. Like I had a guy, so I have a YouTube channel. It's called Chad Michael the Practitioner. Everybody, I need like however many we have here, new subscribers today. If you're not already on there, that'd be great. But I've had it for like 7 years. And there's a video I recorded like actual adjuster meetings through the years, right? And this one guy I had on there, we were looking at a small commercial flat roof in the Dallas area too. I think it was in Plano. And there was like walls up on the sides. So we had like and parapet and damage up on the walls. And it was just a modified bitumen roof that we needed to bring up to code with ISO board and insulation values underneath. And there's water damage all in the roof and multiple layers and all that. But it didn't have parapet wall flashing. It was going to need to have cap flashing, all that. And I had actually seen this adjuster on another claim a couple years before on Amica, on a residential job. And we remembered each other. It was funny because that first claim, I had my camera and I'm filming everything. And I'm acting like I'm taking pictures, but I'm actually filming it. I put it on my YouTube channel, and that's a video. It's called Trained Eyes. It was like one of my early videos a long time ago. And then I seen him again, and he recognized me, but I was afraid that he had seen that video. I was like, oh man, because he didn't know I was recording. But he didn't, and so I, of course, filmed him again and made a second video. So it's literally the same adjuster. But I got to that part, I was like, okay, so you give him, he was measuring it up with a tape measure. This is how small of a commercial roof it was. He was just like, from here to there, kind of thing. He goes, okay, I'll give you the modified bitumen. I told him about the ISO board. He's like, do you have that on letterhead? You could send it over the city cut. I said, I'll give you everything you need. And he's like, okay, I'll give you that. And I go, and also it needs the parapet wall flashing and cap flashing. He goes, oh, Chad. He was with Nation Lloyd's. He goes, Nation Lloyd's is not like Amica. They're not going to pay for that. And so I can see he doesn't know about the building codes. That's a silly statement to make. I mean, you're going to pay for the codes here, you have to pay for it there. Doesn't matter which insurance company you're working with. It's ordinance and law, right? But he just says, they're what he's trying to say is, don't hit me with that. I'm trying to get a quick estimate through, right? And I go, okay, well, who handles the supplementing? And he said the same thing that you did. He goes, oh, that's handled on the back end. The inside deals with that. The inside, the supplements are handled by the inside. I go, oh, tell you what, write it up. Give me the coverage for the roof replacement, the mod bit, the ISO board. Get me this, get me that. I'll hold off on the parapet wall flashing. I'll hold off on the cap flashing. I'll wait till you write your estimate and make the payment, and then I'll just file my supplement with the inside. And he's like, my man, you know what you're doing. I was like, because I literally said to him, I go, we'll wait till after you get paid, and then I'll file it with you. He's like, you know what you're doing, my man. He's like, let's do this. And I said, you can see that for yourself. It's just a demonstration of, they would rather just like push that fight off to somebody else, to some other day, right? But we can't get ourselves into the situation where we're like locked heads and we can't get through it. Like we're at a stalemate where they don't approve certain items in the estimate, and you see that the overall estimate is not large enough, so you can't really proceed with the job. And so everything's on hold, you can't even get the job. Like, that's not my version. I'm signing the client up right away. Like, as soon as I get there, before that process. Like, I'm never gonna actually go to an adjuster meeting ever, unless the client has signed with me first. I'm never gonna give them a copy of my Xactimate estimate until they've signed with me. Like, I have people say, yeah, you can come out and give me an estimate, but I need you to, give me an estimate. Like, I understand people are saying that because a lot of people, everybody knocks on my door, wants a copy of my insurance paperwork, but they don't give me an estimate. Like, I can give them an estimate if that's what they end up needing after all the education that I give them, because they're wrong about thinking they need an estimate right away. That just requires a little education, right? But if I made the commitment, if they need the estimate, I can do an estimate on the spot, and I can hand them my laptop, and they could sit down and roll around on the floor with it for 4 hours if they want to. But I'm not giving them a copy of it until they actually sign with me. I'm not going to an adjuster meeting until I'm actually signed. I could sign them right away without putting my hand on a tape measure, because my contract says that they're hiring me as their contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the claim for the total approved replacement cost value amount. So I don't need to go back and execute some other kind of contract later. Everything's done right from the first time. So then we proceed from there, right? So I'm gonna go out and get the coverage applied. See, right now, if no adjuster's ever been there, the value of that contract right now today is $0. $0. Because no items have been prescribed and no dollar amount next to those items, all right? But when I go out there and I meet with the first adjuster, and he or she writes up their first estimate, and it's for $20,000 or whatever it is, or 40 or 50, whatever it is. They write up that amount, they make their payment. If it is $20,000, then the value of the contract becomes $20,000. Maybe it's nowhere near what it needs to be. Maybe it needs to go to 55, I don't know. But it starts at 20, that's the value of the contract. I don't need to go execute other paperwork, that's the value. When I do my supplement, say I get it up to 40, that is now the value of my contract, $40,000, right? So, and by the way, I'm gonna do those items. So if I submitted it for 50, does that mean I have to go do a $50,000 job for 40,000? No, I'm gonna go handle the items that I've been prescribed. I'm gonna go perform all the repairs that are prescribed by the claim. So I'm not actually doing the items that haven't been prescribed, I'm only doing the items that have been. Does that make sense? Go for it. And by the way, ask questions like, we're going to open this. We're going to take a break here soon, but I have this lady here first, and then I'll get you. Go for it. For this guy.
She wanted to share what she did with the customer. My name is Miguel with MTS.
Yeah. Welcome, brother.
We just did exactly what you were talking
Uh-huh.
about. The insurance company only paid $11,000
Yeah.
to do a complete remodeling on the house. And we did all the supplement. They had to pay $60,000.
60, so they went from 11 to 60,000?
$62,000. They only want to pay $1,200 to paint the house.
To paint the house?
And we sent over 100 pictures from all the damage.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, they from 12,000, right?
12,000 to 60, 62?
62,000.
Congratulations, man. I mean, that took work, right? You had to do the work. You had to give them you had to lay it out
It
for them.
took us 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Did all the proof. And
I love it. Love it, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for adding that. And go ahead, Ram.
Okay,
Got your
just to reiterate one more time, just grind it into my brain. So,
yes.
like, I'm going to say for the last probably 6 insurance jobs, the insurance companies are like, dude, you got to do your estimate first before we're going to send the adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put pressure on the client. So my question to you is, when they say that, you say, okay, then I'm not interested in doing the job and walking on it, or what?
No, I don't think so.
Because the thing is I had to submit the documents.
Uh-huh.
No, I closed the job.
Was it the same insurance company?
Different insurance
Every
companies.
time? Really?
Well,
was it around this area?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
over in the mid-cities area. So
Okay.
like AAA was one of them.
Yeah.
Safeco was another one. And I can't remember
Familiar,
the other one.
maybe
Yeah,
Liberty Mutual, maybe
but-
another one like that.
What's that?
Maybe Liberty Mutual was the other one?
Yeah, but and Allstate is a
Allstate.
real bad one. With
Yeah.
Like at
And I
least
know
four of them
they're
were
doing these
Allstate.
virtual estimates too, like a lot of these virtual things too. But
And so they put the pressure on me. They're like, hey, you need to submit the estimate for the adjuster to come out. And so
do this, ready? Send them a photo report instead. Just send them a photo report. Okay? So like if you were to use Xactimate or some other form, like Xactimate, it's the cover sheet, and then it's the page by page line item estimates, and then photos after that.
Well,
you can
I've obviously been messing up because I don't use Xactimate, but I will tell you I'm going to start using it now.
Yeah, no, don't think of it that way. I mean, because it's okay. Like you make that transition, and probably because of your level of experience dealing with it, you'll pick it up really easy. And you've seen these adjuster estimates, so that's one way to pick it up. And also, hey, if you've got my files, that'd be an excellent way to learn it. There's I have on my YouTube channel, I have an entire segment about how to write an Xactimate estimate from start to finish. A couple hours long, like just one job. Like all the things, like how to put their name into the thing, how to put where the address goes and where, like just the real simple stuff. But it's not an official Xactware training because I don't like how they train. You know, like Janelle went through the certification, like I got to see it and how they do it. And she learned a lot of good stuff, but this is how they teach the adjusters, you know, so I wanted you to see a different aspect of it, but I think
So you're just saying send them a photo report
yes.
and say, come meet me out here, because I was
Yes.
the adjuster.
Yeah, because listen, it's like I don't know what to do. I'm just the contractor.
Okay.
I need you guys to help me and solve this. Let's do this together. Let's roll up our sleeves. So I don't know what to do. Like, I need you guys to assess, like, so, but I can tell you though, I've been there. I've been there a ton. I could tell you everything that's going on there. Let me send you pictures. You know, I could show you, like, the roof is torn up, you know, the siding is this, like the guy back there with your pictures there, that shows everything that's wrong with it, right? It shows all the stuff. So I can show you all that. So I just want them to see every aspect of it. Every, like, I want them to see, if it's siding, I want them to see every elevation, the front, right, rear, left elevations of the siding. You know, I want them to see the water damage. Go for it.
So what happens whenever I deal with adjusters
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
and they say, well, if you can't perform the work, if you don't know what to do, I can recommend to our client or the policyholder
I love it.
another contractor.
Easy answer. Great question. So what he said is, well, if you don't know how to do it, you know, I've got a network of contractors that I'll send them to, you know. And then, by the way, what's the worst question is, what do you do when they tell your client that, right? And you don't even know it, and all of a sudden you've lost it, right? Here's what you do. My simple version, I have two different versions of contracts in my files. One is more detailed between you and the client, like with payment schedules and all that. The other is way more simple. And I get them to sign both. And I tell them, this one I send to the insurance company right away, let them know I've been hired as the contractor, right? Sometimes I'll use that for mortgage company process. Another one, State Farm will release the full replacement cost value up front, no depreciation, if they have that. If they have a signed contract. I don't know if you knew that. USAA, a lot of other insurance companies will. Huh?
No dollar?
With no dollar amount, none. That they have been hired. So this just says, it's one paragraph, you can see it in there. It says that we are hereby hiring Reformed Roofing as our contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by claim number such and such, and it'll say State Farm, claim number such and such, for the total approved replacement cost value. That's the dollar amount. There's no dollar amount, but that's the price, right? So that doesn't matter what it ends up being, that's the price. Now, if there's some kind of special exclusions, like they're not having you do the fence or something, you know, I perform all repairs with the exception of fencing related items for the total.
The approved final RCV.
The approved final total RCV, correct. Not the first estimate, you know, what it ends up becoming, right? So that right there is what I would submit to them right away when I'm hired, okay? So letting them know that I've planted my flag. I also like to tell them, and we're proceeding with repairs, okay? Which I'm not gonna go do, like, so I do think the supplement process needs to be hashed out before the repairs are made, which you cannot do in mitigation. I get that, you don't have that option, but for any other type of project, let's not go build it and then send them the estimate, okay? That used to actually work. You know, back in the day, that used to be the thing you wanted to do. Now that doesn't work. You have to hash out this process beforehand, okay? So, but you can also start right away on the work that needs to be done. Like, think of mitigation. If there's wet items in the home, and these are items that are under your umbrella now, you need to get in there and get the wet items out, right? If it's a roofing project, let's start planning, and they've approved the whole roof, but it's just not, it doesn't have all the line items, but you can see the amount of squares is there, the amount of measurements on the siding. Let's start ordering the materials. Let's get the roofing permit if we're in an area that needs a roofing permit, right? Like, let's start doing the things that we need to do. Let's start the architectural review committee at the homeowners association, if that's one of the needed steps, right? Hold on, let me get this guy right here, and I'll come to you right here. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add
Yeah.
to what gentleman said. I've been coming across that issue too, that most insurances are asking for 3 estimates
Yeah.
before they give out their estimate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, now stop. Like,
So what I'm
yeah, go ahead.
doing,
Go
I
ahead.
was
Sorry.
saying to my client, you know what they're trying to do here, right? He or she, they're asking, no, what? Well, basically, they're not using the same software you guys are. They're gonna be paying less.
Because of course, if they're asking for 3 estimates, what are they going to do, right? But listen, just so you know, every policyholder has the right to go with the contractor of their choice, all right? So that's where you have to start. You have to educate the client to let them know that, right? A lot of times when you do submit your supplement, the first thing that the adjuster will do is contact the client, and they'll say, where did you find these guys? They're unreasonable. We have way better guys than this, right? And like if you prepare the client by simply telling them to expect that, then when they call to do that, they're going to say, you know what, my contractor told me you guys are going to try that, you know, and like just tell them, like, when they do it, let them know that you already have hired us, right? But as soon as I execute the contract, I'm sending that simple agreement to State Farm with the subject line, like a claim number is a subject line, no dashes. State Farm State Farm fire claims at statefarm.com, right? To the main email address, and that's how I'll open any supplement with State Farm too. But to whom it may concern, and I'll put the information at the top, the claim number, all of that, right? To whom it may concern, we have been hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the above mentioned claim for the total approved replacement cost value. Attached is our signed agreement. Please at this time, place this in the claim file, and please at this time release all recoverable depreciation. Right up front, bam, done. So so if you're meeting the adjuster on site, the field adjuster, walk up and hand them a copy of that contract. Just hand them that right away. Just that one-page, simple little agreement, like, we've been hired. That's done. That's done. I had another video on there where this commercial farmers guy in Dallas here, like, I don't know how it is now, this is probably 5 years ago, where any commercial deal I had, like in the Plano area, I had to deal with the same farmers guy, same guy. And I had submitted supplements on these 2 metal roofs, and he doubled each one, but they're still nowhere near where they need to be. He's just ignoring building codes and all that. So this is what I like to do. They apply the coverage, they make the payment, and then I take the money off the table, guys. Take the money right off the table, okay? Every time, take the money off the table. So like, how are payments made? We are due all payments as they arrive, as they arrive from the insurance company and are released by the mortgage company. All right? So if it takes you, like if you have somebody say, if it's a large amount, they're like, I don't want to pay you that much up front. You could break it down into draws, into phases if you want to, if you have to, right? But I think the default starting position needs to be all checks due as they arrive. I made it that's another mistake I made as a contractor where I didn't know that. I didn't know anybody was going to be willing to do that. So I was asking for like a third. So they'd have to take that insurance check, put it in their account, and then I had to fight like crazy to get every payment because it was in their account. And then I realized when I started consulting with other contractors that how they did it was most of them across the nation was all checks as they arrived, just sign them right over. And I was like, wow, I can't believe how easy they have a time of doing that. And then so I then saw that the reason is because it doesn't go into their bank account. The check goes into their bank account and then they don't want to part ways with it, right? So like all payments due as they arrive. So get the money. I like to tell the adjuster is that like we've been hired and we've started with repairs. Thank you for sending the $20,000. We've already gone over and picked up the $20,000. You see what I mean? Because if you pick the money up off the table, there is no chance that client is going to go with somebody else. I understand that if you just simply sign some kind of agreement or contingency, that you lose them. They go somewhere else and hire somebody else, and you can't get a hold of them, right? I bet you have no trouble getting a hold of them if you have all the money, if you're holding all the money. And so I've got to tell you that. Okay, once you went, and then you right there. Go ahead.
So I'm in Southern California.
Yeah.
The average house is probably $2 million.
Sure.
And the owners are fairly educated, right? So just
What part? So,
I'm in Mission Viejo.
okay, yeah, Orange County.
Yeah, Orange
Yep.
South Orange County. And so the thing you hit a lot is it's like they want you to help them get $75,000 and keep that money, or give you $52,000 and have you remodel their extra bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, how do you position that? So you're not that
I think it's great, and so I think we're going to get into top segments that's going to cover that more fully. But I don't want to duck the question. I think everything it revolves around the education. We need to have a sit down with that client to explain to them our process, okay, and how we're going to do it before anything really happens. And And how my intention of that is to establish myself as the expert, okay? Like the one in charge of this process. I'm not interested in taking the job at all if I can't be in charge of it, you know? Like that's my thing. Like I'm not gonna go get on a plane and tell everybody there, you know what, I've never flown a plane, but I think I'm gonna try to fly this plane. Like you can't just tell a client that, but that's really essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to play the role of the general contractor. They think they're better off, or they think, and again, they think that the amount of money that's on that estimate, they have to find a contractor to do it for that amount or less. But I like to here's the thing. This is another pillar. Guys, we spend way too much time thinking that we have to qualify to do business with these people. We don't. We just simply don't. We're too busy. We're too good, okay? These people need to qualify to do business with you. So it's not about are they willing to hire you, it's are you willing to even spend your time in taking on that project, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, by the way, okay? Think about this. We do these 6-figure jobs, 7-figure sometimes. We don't even ask them for a copy of their driver's license, much less do a credit check, you know, or any kind of background information. We got to be more careful, you know? Like I'm just saying, we need to qualify them a little better. So I like to qualify before I even get out there. Like I'm not doing any work like that. Like I can give you a price before I even come out there, and that is the total replacement cost value. I can explain it to you why that is, because I've seen in 23 years that no estimates that I've ever seen written by an insurance adjuster ever contain the appropriate amount of line items. The good news is that it's not that difficult to actually get them to include the line items by doing the things that nobody else wants to do, which is simply go find the line items and document them, improve them, and get them into the estimate. You see, I can come out and show you how I can do that. You see what I mean? Gosh, the questions are coming now. I know. Yeah.
They have to have the incurred cost, and if they're not incurring that cost, then they could be committing fraud.
Oh, of course.
That's what he was asking about.
Oh.
Using the other money, the ACV is actual cash value. The replacement cost is incurred.
It's incurred, yeah, that's right.
If it's not incurred, then
Yeah,
you're committing fraud.
I think what he's saying.
That can help you on your stance and say, hey, I can't commit fraud.
There you go.
So here's
We're going to get into a whole topic about that too, ACV and ACV.
live example. So
Yeah.
the Italian cabinets, right? $75,000 for the cabinets. It's half the kitchen. And when we pulled them out, they were in decent shape. They were wet. They need to be pulled out. The floor had to be taken out. And so he's trying to get replacement for the cabinets, but doesn't want to wait 4 months to get them from Italy. So he wants me to put the old cabinets back in.
I mean,
Then if he wants to recover the full replacement cost value, then he has to be honest about that entire thing and only get paid for those items.
Yep.
Now he can claim all of the ACV money for that, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit. But listen, on that note, I know there's a couple questions I'm missing here. Hold it please until after. We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna take a 10-minute break because we have a lunch that's a hard stop coming at 12. So we do need to take a break though. I will take that now. I'll see you back here in 10 minutes.